Hey everybody, Jaw and Wes and myself are here to talk to you about Coach Dean Smith's 12 leadership principles. We wanted to specifically talk about principle number 5, which is success requires a flexible vision. So to quote Dean Smith, he says, "We don't have a system, but a philosophy that is flexible and innovates." So Coach Smith doesn't like having his vision called a system. That implies an untrue rigidity. Coach Smith believes more that he has a philosophy that changes every year with the team, and the vision remains the same, and the way he goes about teaching the fundamentals are the same, but he may use a different approach, but the fundamentals are always the same. So every company, every corporation, every church that is accomplishing anything of note has core values and fundamentals. Those basic elements need to be repeated, relearned, and refreshed regularly, at least yearly. So one of Coach's many fundamentals that he taught during his tenure was conditioning. Quote, "Being in shape doesn't mean you'll never get tired, it means you'll recover more quickly." If a person doesn't recover quickly from a mistake, that's a signal to the leaders that the employees need more conditioning. Continual mistakes may be the fault of the boss and not the worker. So one of the examples of the coach's importance of his fundamentals was in 1970. Charlie Scott, who was UNC's All-American guard, was a superb athlete and he had unbelievable skills. So one day in practice, Charlie came down the court. He completed an amazing behind the back, no look pass that led to a basket. He turned and looked at the other players paused for a second, stood up and applauded him. Coach Smith responded to Charlie's play, "Charles, the great player is the one who makes the hard play look easy, not the easy play look hard." So Smith was simply restating that his convictions and the fundamentals were properly performed within the team, that they win games, and that not the spectacular individual plays. So it was a team effort. And after 879 wins, it's easy to see why the annual teachings of Coach Smith and his fundamentals were so successful. Thank you.
Innovation requires us to systematically identify changes, to abandon rather than defend yesterday, something most difficult for existing organizations to do, said Peter Drucker. And Coach Smith, he changed the team's defensive scheme halfway through the season because they just don't have the personnel and the right people to use the same scheme. So by doing so, he helped and guided the team to achieve the goal of winning games. They went on to Final Four that year. Earlier this quarter, we briefly talked about first who then what. This is a perfect example to show learning who you have, then doing what they can do. And we have mentioned that innovate as necessary. Now we want to emphasize on change is constant. Page 91, Dean Smith. Change will arrive monthly in a tsunami-like proportions and will threaten to eradicate organizations overnight. I once heard that improvement is continuous. In business, it is really not a place to declare victory after a short-term success. According to Navadande, a leader is any person who influences individuals and groups within an organization, help them establish goals, and guide them towards achievement of those goals, thereby allowing them to be effective. In order to allow teams to be effective, as leaders, we need to allow innovations and adapt to changes. Dean Smith, page 92. No great leader has ever reached any position of significant success without saying thanks to those who have helped them achieve it. Thank those who assist. I think we can all closely relate to this principle because earlier we did the positive attribute paper, and we all get to experience firsthand how good it makes you feel that somebody thinks you helped them in long term and how it feels to be thought highly of. Coach Smith's player would point to the passers that if it was a point or a miss, to encourage contribution. And now almost every sport team uses it. They point at the contributor. As leaders, we need to attend to those needs of our team by thanking a team after success or near success, to encourage hard work and innovations. Now I pass it to Wes.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next point, which is stand up and cheer. Now, if any of you have actually watched a basketball game, I'm sure most of you have, you'll notice that when a player comes off the floor and back to the bench, the players will cheer for them. They might give them a high five, they might give them a fist bump, they could be standing up, they could be sitting down, but they're cheering for them in some form of the way or the other. Now, Dean Smith took this a step farther, and he demanded every single one of his players stand up and cheer for his teammates. And he would watch the game film the next day to determine if this happened. And if he determined that one person didn't do it, the whole team would run. If you've ever been part of a team, you know how bad that is. You know, everyone would hate you for that. But why do this? And Dean Smith thought basically that this created a synergy within the team. This gave everyone the power to encourage one another. And you know, Dean Smith teams and former players and players today are all really considered, you know, family. They care for each other, they love each other, and they're successful in their ways. Just look at how many wins they achieved together. And so this is what Dean Smith wanted to accomplish through this. He wanted everyone to encourage one another and create a successful team. And as we move on to the last point, which is let innovation flow from vision. Now, if you ever asked Dean Smith where he got all of these leadership principles from, where all of these innovations came from, he would have told you, I don't know. And the truth is, he really didn't know. Just by living through his core value that the team is worth more than the individual, these innovations naturally came to him over time. It just happened. You know, a lot of times we hear about leaders, they spend time trying to be innovative. They sit down, they spend hours upon hours trying to figure out ways to become innovative and create new ideas. But they fail to realize that a lot of innovations don't come this way. You'll notice that a lot of innovations just happen over time. You'll be doing something and it just pops in your brain. And you'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. And that's how a lot of these innovations start. So as we move on to relate to today's leadership, a lot of today's leaders are really cynical and jaded towards one another. And this is because a lot of leaders in today's organizations really only care about the bottom line. They're so stressed about what's going on and how they need to pass and be successful that they forget their most important resource they have, and that's human capital. By going off the idea that every single one of us is unique and special in their own ways, and that we all have great ideas and can contribute to the group as a whole, any leader who chooses to ignore this and be cynical and jaded loses a lot of innovative ideas. He basically ignores the whole team, and this creates a team that's not really successful. It creates a team that's very hostile towards one another, who doesn't like their leader. And a leader who's not liked is a leader that's typically not successful. So that's why a good leader should ask yourself, is the team the highest priority? Does it guide everything we do? And if a leader can ask these questions and actually actively participate in trying to achieve this, then the creativity and innovation that's required to get great ideas, to create innovative ideas, should come naturally over time. And that is our presentation. Thank you so much. And any questions?
Thank you. Oh, now the gift for the most eye contact during my presentation. On my speech.
No, thank you.
Sorry.
John, you were hilarious. I adore you.